so all the things that they kind of had said loses merit, but like people are still so willing to believe it. They don't want to hear when something is being disproven. They want to hear something that supports them. What's up, peoples? It's your bartenders, Mr. Z.
And your boy, Omega.
Aliens, deep state, Tupac is alive? Oh, the rabbit hole we have found ourselves in. illWill joins us as we get into the deep, dark world of conspiracy theories, why people believe them, how they affect our cultures, share some stories, and talk through ways to combat this thought form. As every episode, we want to thank all of you for listening. We truly appreciate you listening to our hearts and minds on varied and difficult topics.
Special thank you goes out to our Patreon subscribers for their support of the show. Every little bit helps us reach our goals to invite more high-profile guests and create bonus content.
And if you want to join in our conversation outside of this cast, feel free to hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at HaveADrinkCast, and make sure to use that hashtag HADcast.
Remember, this is always a conversation. If you don't agree, you want to voice your opinions, or even suggest a topic for an episode, feel free to join our Discord as well. The link will be in the description.
And please, if you like what we're doing here, share us with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Ooh, create a conspiracy that opening and communicating from your heart and mind will start the Earth's healing. Or, that your referrals mean a lot to us, as that's how we gain more listeners. So,
thank you again.
And get prepared to sit,
think,
and have a drink.
Welcome to Have a Drink Podcast. Enjoy the episode.
We said peace. What's up, peoples, and welcome back to another episode of the Have a Drink Podcast, where we invite you to sit, think, and have a drink. We're your bartenders, Mr. Z.
I'm your boy, Omega.
Hey, and joining us at the bar again is my nephew, illWill. Hey, illWill.
Yes, sir, in the flesh. It's been a minute.
Yep. So, hey, thanks for joining.
Absolutely. I'm very excited.
That makes three of us.
Hell yeah. So today I wanted us to kind of like get on this topic that, we alluded to and kind of foreshadowed last week, but a little bit about extremism in the sense of conspiracy theories, but before we get into it, let's start off and actually answer the question of what is a conspiracy theory. So basically it's a belief that a powerful actor is behind a powerful event. That idea that something is without your control because someone else is the bad guy, essentially. So yeah, we all know, we've all have our fair share of conspiracy theories. Hold on, I want to start this way. Out of the three of us here, who believes in at least one conspiracy theory?
I don't know if it's really conspiracy, but
okay. Well,
I was kidding.
Well, all right. So, with that just alone, just seeing us, it shows that a predominant percentage of Americans believe in conspiracies. 75% of every demographic. Whether that's religious sect, whether that's gender, whether that's racial demographic, whatever, what have you, socioeconomic demographic, 75% of every demographic believes in conspiracy theories, at least one, and if not more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of crazy to kind of see how it permeates, because I guess let's take it this way. Not all conspiracy theories are false. We have, what was it? Watergate turned out to be true. Turned out to be real. MK Ultra happened. CIA giving LSD to people. You have these things that have happened. Systematic racism is being deemed a conspiracy theory by certain people. You have all these different things. Like it doesn't come from just nowhere, you know, like nothing is new either.
So, would it be safe to say that a conspiracy theory can also be considered an accusation or some kind of false accusation in a sense? Because if some of these are deemed true eventually, then there's obviously someone who had started them that was aware. Because there's some people who are actually genuinely aware of these things that are happening, but they have to make other people aware, and the vast majority won't necessarily be into the idea of those things being true.
So that's where, you know, so that's where there's like that slippery slope, and that, like, you know, I guess shaky middle ground of existence, because there are the conspiracy theories that turn out to be actual true facts.
yeah,
You know, they get lumped in with a lot of these wild and out there extremist thoughts and views, you know, like Bigfoot is out there and real. Like they just, you know, in all these years we've never seen a clear picture of this, brother. Come on, we could take satellite pictures from space, but like the Navy can't take one clear photo of a UFO, you know. It's because mystery builds conspiracy. When you have things that are not unanswered, I feel like it really builds to that conspiracy. So like people in different groups, like they use it for different reasons, you know, like it's often politicized, you know. It's like it's a part of broader politics. If we like really get into it, it's like a form of political propaganda. So like gaslighting real issues. So you'll have conspiracy theories coming up about, you know, like Joe Biden, or you'll have conspiracy theories. Let's even take it more towards like the vaccines, Bill Gates. You know, you have all of these things that like people are trying to put together. Because they're basically trying to answer the unanswerable. You know, it's, even if you're like trying to find things and reasons about someone you don't like, you'll find conspiracy theories about them. You're more inclined to believe them because you want to find an answer for something that seems unanswerable.
I was gonna say that I think that a lot of people my age specifically tend to create conflict through conspiracy theories. Um, that's like half the conversation that goes on when you're in school, specifically high school, is just gossip and conspiracy theories about other people. But I don't know if does that really like make sense. I'm kind of trying to tie in how people my age and how
Well,
I've noticed, because there's
inherently rumors are conspiracy
yeah.
theories. I mean, essentially that the idea of rumors and gossip and all that stuff has been around for ages. Like, you know, so essentially that is partially why we have the propensity for believing in or producing and going along with conspiracy theories. I mean, that's just one of many reasons why people, but like that's just another thing that kind of plays into it. So very much so the teenage culture, the, you know, the schools, the high school culture, the gossip, the cliques, the things like that, it's very much, you know, based around that, and then grows into conspiracy theories later at some point. Like I know we have a lot of people who believe a bunch of different things. Like I we we could tell stories in a minute about some fun conspiracy theories that we've been involved in. I kind of talked about this behind the scenes last show, but I'll bring it up for this one.
For sure.
It kind of is why what really sparked this kind of this
Mhm.
episode's topic.
But another thing too is I feel the use of conspiracy theories is to confuse the masses so they don't know which way is up. Because the person who's spreading it knows the truth and they can't let it out. So they're gonna make it sound far fetched. They're gonna try and flip it and whip it to make it sound far fetched so nobody will know what's true and what's not. You know, it's like, for instance, the 9/11. The whole world watched 9/11 happen. Well, the United States watched it, literally watched it happen, right? But nobody knows what to believe. Nobody. Nobody knows how is it that these planes blew up this section of a building and only did this? Or how was it that this didn't happen? There were so many, well, what if, how comes? And then you have people that are legit in the industry like, this is what, this is, if this is really what happened, this is how it would have gone down. But people are like, well, I don't believe that because my eyes saw this and the media told me this. And then you have people that are like, but this is my job. This is what I do. I'm trying to explain this to you. So there's so many different ways of spinning it through the media and everything else. It's like nobody knows which way is up. So that's what kind of makes conspiracy theories so crazy, because it's crazy because they very well could be true, but you don't know, again, like I said, which way is up. You don't know whether to believe it or not.
So I mean, we're getting more and now deeper into the idea of like, why people believe, why they're so willing to believe in conspiracy theories. But like the base of it, I was coming across this research done by Viren Swamy. He's a professor, Professor Viren Swamy at Anglia Ruskin University. Um, and he was talking about how for many people it fills a need for control. So there's this idea that you have no control, so what you're trying to do is find some semblance of it. Like, you take what you just said, a terrorist attack or a pandemic. People want to search for an explanation. Like I was saying earlier, you want an answer for something, for the unanswerable. Another reason why, I find, is that it's there's simplistic explanations can be adopted much quicker. So I mean, they're simple, and it personifies the agents who are doing bad things. Like, if we can say, we can find something and point our finger at it and just, be like, ooh, 5G is bad. Now, now I can go take action and, bring down a 5G pole or anything like that, for example. Or, basically it gives you a target. I like to quote Scarface when I was like going through all of this. It was just like, you need people like me, so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
If I can go ahead and just piggyback off of that for a second. Me personally, one, that was a really good point. I really enjoyed that. Two, I just wanted to say, for me personally, I know for a fact that I enjoy conspiracy theories because it kind of gives me like a like some it sounds kind of weird saying it out loud, but I know for a fact that in my head, it gives you kind of an exhilarating feeling. Like, it gives you like adrenaline. It makes you like the mystery behind it, all of that. It makes you feel, it makes you want more, and it kind of makes you like need that intake, to kind of have that specific feeling that only comes from that. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely. As well put. You hit the nail on the head for it. Like, it entices you for wanting to know more.
That's the basis of media. That's the new change of media now. To overfeed you so much content, so much information. They're telling you the truth, they're telling you lies, they're telling you theories, they're telling you so many different things all at the same time, to where you have nothing to do but feel a rush. That's why we have like something deep, something that I've heard in the last few years, trauma porn. Where people are getting so they're overly stimulated by so much trauma, they get off on it now. It is so much, it's crazy. So think about it like, and I keep talking about real situations that happen, but these are theories and these are conspiracies that I heard. Like, when Sandy Hook happened, right? Tragic event, tragic. Give it less than a week. What were they saying? There were crisis actors on TV. This guy's a crisis actor. He was a part of this shooting and then this shooting. And then you're starting to see all of this stuff. You're starting to see this every time. Like, how many school shootings have there been? Too many to
Too
count.
many to count. Like, yeah, you took the
Too many to
words.
count. But then yet it's like, how are there still school shootings right now, but there hasn't been school? There's been online school, but there hasn't really been anybody on campus. But they're saying there's still been school shootings. And it's like, well, we got to get back to the school shootings. So that's where I'm kind of like, It's a bit much. Or they're only, like there's so many different things that's going on that make people be like, I need to hear this negative energy, this negative information, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I need this negative information, and it's so much so that it's like I have an Instagram that I'm literally logged into right now. It's called Conspirus, right? And it says conspiracy theories, real lies. And it's got like 296 posts, 198,000 followers, and they're just writing up a bunch of different stuff, right? So it's just like people are just so used to the drama, so much to the. It has some very crazy, wild things to some information that you just don't know, or that most people don't know. Like when I say information, the smallest bone in the human body is the stapes or stirrup bone, located in the middle ear. It is about 0.11 inches long. 0.11 inches long. Super tiny. It's like, what's the conspiracy about that? But then it goes on to, according to a new survey, nearly half of Americans believe in aliens, and almost as many believe aliens are visiting Earth. See how there's those two total different ends of the spectrum. They give you some information that's actually really good knowledge. Oh, I didn't know about the ear, and then it goes to that.
I mean, it's funny because again, across the research that I was finding, um one professor mentioned people's relationship to, if most likely, I guess a few studies that were done where, if you believe in one conspiracy theory, you're more likely to believe in another one adjacent to that, or something unrelated, if it's weaved into your conspiracy. People are looking for that validation. Actually, what kind of like something, again, I was alluding to in the at the top of this particular topic was the need, feeling that need for control. If So the idea comes from, like, if you're in a space of, if we're talking about the vaccine, or if we're talking about vaccines in general, or flat earth, or whatever, you think that's just because of a lack of education. Well, a lack of education can lead to, the less control over your life or what happens, which
Mm.
creates increased uncertainty, which then feeds to conspiracies being more appealing for a person. Because, like, if your if your life is out of control, what are you constantly seeking? Control over it, right? If you feel like like everything is all out of whack, you want some sort of tangible thing you can hold on to and be like, I can grasp that, the point your fingers, say that's the bad guy, that's the thing that I need to personify, that I need to say this is the reason why things are happening, why they're so out of control. um it it kind of falls into this, if you don't mind, it falls into this, what you call the illusory pattern perception. So basically, it's our tendency to see patterns that aren't there.
Mm.
Now, the theory is that it exists from our ancestors for survival, looking for facial patterns in the distance so that you can tell whether friend or foe. You can pick out, what one professor talked about. When you're walking through the forest, if you come across a snake, but then it actually is a stick, you're like, oh, okay, whew, my mind, I'm okay, great. But your brain thought it was a snake first to keep you safe. Whereas if you're walking through and then you're just like, oh, it's a stick, that's fine, and it turns out to be a snake, oops, it bit you, you're dead. So it's the kind of like feeds into that idea of um an inherent survival. But like within all of that, like, we as human beings, our brain likes to do this thing where we try to make sense of randomness. So our sense of randomness is based on how hard it is to mentally encode something, not how objectively random it is. One thing that I was thinking about was, there was a visual test that, um I forget which college was doing it, but they were kind of like showing, I guess there was like this random test, like this visual test. You look at this dot on on like one side of the screen, and if you focus on it long enough, the other dot will disappear, because your brain then fills in the gap with what it's not looking at, with what it thinks you're supposed to be seeing, which is this one dot right here and no dot over there, and this rest of it's blue sky. How does it fill in the blue pattern? Or even the idea that if you look at this picture, if you look at these patterns of colors and then look at a picture of black and white greenery, or like, landscape, your brain will fill in the idea that there's color in there, because it wants so bad to keep a normalcy of what we should be expected to think. So in that same process where your brain is liking to fill in the gaps, it wants to create um control, order where there might be disorder in what is happening around it. So a conspiracy theory is then enticing enough to become a part of your reality, or becomes enticing enough to have you think it's plausible. This explains something I didn't know. Like, rather than going to do more research on pyramids, to understand how the pyramids were made, it's very easy to just say, oh, aliens made it. But instead of, by the way, this is a little knowledge from Joe, a listener of ours and a patron. So shouts out to Joe. Um, of like them as a culture understanding and learning the tides and the flows, and being able to build streams and things like that, to get the ships all the way up to where the pyramid opening is at, so that they can drop off the stones and the things that are necessary. But it's much easier to just say we don't know how to do it, we don't know how it was done, rather than going a little bit further to kind of get the explanations of how it was put together.
And that's also to say that we can't fathom that there were rivers that
Right.
reach to where they are, because we can't see that, because we see a desert that has been a desert for however long it's been. So there's that other part too. It's we just can't fathom what the world really was like back then. And people are not open to practical knowledge like that.
Critical thinking. Critical thinking. It's really important. Actually, so I want to kind of shift gears just slightly, but I'm kind of curious, like what have, if you have any stories, I would love to hear them. But what are a couple conspiracy theories that are just so wild and out there that you've come across? Like, or just like, that you find is just like, this is silly or weird or what have you.
I have one. Very silly. And I just read this. You ready? Very, very silly. There's a theory that John Benet Ramsey was not murdered in 1996 and actually grew up to be the multi-platinum recording artist Katy Perry. That's
I
one
heard
theory I
that.
just read.
I
Yes.
heard that. Oh
That's
my
really a
goodness.
thing?
Yeah, that's really a
There's
thing.
no way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, and now here's funny. In that same vein, the theory that we grew up with was Tupac isn't really dead when he was murdered in what year again? 1996, and that he's living in Cuba. So, it's like, it's very interesting. It always comes about with celebrities and people's death.
You know what's funny about that is there's a dude that I came across on, I think it was TikTok, fucking TikTok. I came across something that I think it was this person's channel that they were claiming to be Tupac. Like, he was showing his manager, and he's like, yeah, I'm back to recording and I'm doing all these things, like I haven't gone anywhere. He's like, people just thought I had died, but I didn't. I just been hiding out for a while, and like, I'm here now. And I'm like, what?
Oh no.
What? I mean, because I mean, objectively, how do you disprove that? You can't prove that he's Tupac, just as much as you can't prove that he's not Tupac.
What does Suge Knight say? That's the real question.
What did Suge say?
What did Suge say?
That's funny.
What did Suge say?
Well, I would say,
Okay,
I would say there's a
I
couple of
actually
different
do
ways you
have
probably
one.
could. You would have him interact with Afeni Shakur, because a mother will know her child.
Mm.
100%.
A mother will know her child. You could do as many surgeries as you possibly want and or can. A mother will know and feel her child. That's one.
Absolutely.
2, DNA.
But I mean, from just a screen, because if you don't
Yeah,
have access to his DNA, if you
yeah,
don't have access to his mama in that moment,
yeah,
like,
yeah. You can't disprove it, really. I mean, you want to.
Okay. So there was actually one that kind of relates to the Tupac thing, and it's actually really funny because it has to do with this artist that's more popular for my generation, Playboy Cardi. Um, so the day that Tupac was shot and died, of course, is the day that Playboy Cardi was born. So what people were saying is that Playboy Cardi is Tupac, and who was immediately reincarnated right then and there. And that he's gonna start taking over, and he's gonna be just like Tupac and die again, and by the same means as Tupac did, and move on to another artist later on. And he's just gonna keep evolving into these continuous beings that are all rappers, artists, whatever.
has he died
It's
yet?
really interesting. No, not yet, but he
Okay,
probably will soon if he keeps doing
doing what he's
drugs.
doing.
Yeah.
Who was the rapper that now we on the topic of rappers, like who was the rapper that put the gemstone in his forehead?
Oh, Lil Uzi.
Uzi,
Lil
yeah,
Uzi.
Uzi.
Hey, I personally love Lil Uzi Vert. That is one of my favorite artists of all time. But as cool as it looks, I will not be getting a gem put in my forehead.
I heard that you could die if it's removed.
Yeah, he said that. He
Yeah,
said that on his Instagram. He went on live. He was like, "Yo, my gem almost fell out. I could have died."
bro.
He
Break
was
that down for
laughing so
me.
hard.
Break that down for me. How in the world could he die?
I have no idea.
Me either. And see, now there is a conspiracy
Mm.
Ooh.
because he could say that and in hopes that somebody would beat him up and try and steal his jewel, and that's the way he would die. I mean, last time I checked, he's not a troll.
No.
See, it's like how would you die from somebody removing a piece of jewelry from your forehead?
I mean, unless that's the only thing blocking you and your brain and the
Yeah,
blood holding in your
which
head.
I don't think
But
that's
I don't think that would
how
be it.
that works
Yeah, I don't
necessarily.
think that's how that
but
would work. I don't know.
unless it's drilled through his skull.
Well, actually, to branch off into that conspiracy theory, there is the theory that he is actually trying to be a part of what is it what is it the 2024 club, 26 club, or whatever it is.
Mm,
Yeah, where they want to die before they
the
age
27th
27 their 27th birthday. Yeah, so he created a way that he could die before then, or harness to all of his abilities and things like that, and be able to reincarnate.
I actually did hear that one as well.
Yeah, that's actually related to that
I've
conspiracy theory.
I've heard
Are you
that, and what
serious?
I heard
Yeah.
was that he wants to kind of put himself up of this image of being like one of the greatest artists ever, or being a legend, or being known as a legend after he dies. Um, so I've actually seen that too, and I've heard people talking about it my age.
Yeah,
Um,
crazy shit,
crazy shit.
right?
Oh, it was the 27 Club.
Oh yeah, the 27 club.
Mac Miller.
27 Club. Stars who died at age 27.
Was it Hendrix?
Interesting.
Was it Hendrix?
Yeah.
Marley,
Janis Joplin.
Joplin? Yeah.
Nirvana, not
Uh
Nirvana.
Winehouse?
Jim, yeah.
Winehouse.
Yeah.
Amy Winehouse, Jimmy Morris, Jim Morrison,
Jim Morrison.
Robert Johnson, Rudy Lewis, Brian Jones,
Oh, no, he was
Jean
older.
Michel
He was-
Basquiat.
Yep. So yeah, so I mean all of these are pretty far out there, but you could see, like, just from that alone, us talking about, you said Tupac, right? Now Tupac branched off into Playboy Cardi, which then brought us to Lil Uzi, and then Lil Uzi had like a bunch of other conspiracy theories that branched off of that. Like, you see how easy it is to fall into the rabbit hole of that, and why
Yeah.
people would be so apt to believing those so with so much force. Another one
Right.
that I heard was, if just to like finish it off, was Meghan Markle is a robot. So this is one that has been doing rounds on the internets ever since this clip that
Prince
emerged.
Harry's wife?
Yeah, Prince Harry's wife.
Okay.
Apparently showing Meghan Markle and Prince Harry at at the finale of Britain's Got Talent. The clip, which has since gone viral, shows the royal couple sitting in the audience and applauding while their faces remain motionless, not even blinking. And so that basically sparked this rumor or this conspiracy theory that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are robots.
I would have thought you would have brought up Mark Zuckerberg being a robot.
They either say
That's pretty good
him a
too.
robot or a reptile. I mean, but that goes into like the reptilian elite
Yeah.
conspiracy theories.
It's ridiculous at how far and crazy these things come about. I mean, we have the Illuminati.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean like that goes back into what I was saying about things like it's nothing new. Conspiracy theories have been around from a long time, whether that's, the Illuminati rumors that exist within not just like it. The thing I think about is Illuminati. I'm trying to remember if they came around as like a conspiracy theory before the music industry, or because like I knew that there was this idea in secret societies or societies with secrets that there was this hooded organization that ran the world behind the scenes, but they weren't necessarily referred to as Illuminati. And I don't think Illuminati really started coming around or out until like the music industry started really getting and going and stuff like that. And you talk about subliminal marketing and television and things like that. That's when I think the ramp of that. But like you have the Illuminati rumors, you have let's go back the Red Scare with communism. Like
Right.
the commies are going to come over, or the Reds, if you wore a red shirt, they thought you were a commie. Like it was a lot of like that. I mean, let's go even further back. The witch hunts, when we were drowning
The
and
Salem
crushing
witch hunts.
witches. Yeah. Well, women that we assumed were witches. I mean, and then we have what else? What Freemasonry freakouts? Through fucking Hitler was a big proponent and like pusher of conspiracy theories.
Absolutely.
Like he wholeheartedly dove into them and tried to use them to help, again what I said, fuel the propaganda machine that he was trying to use, that gave
Right.
him the reasons like why he wanted to eradicate the Jewish community. He talked about how this is a conspiracy theory of the Jews run the run the Freemasons, which is trying to take over the world and create a new world order and enslave all of humanity or eradicate it, and control at the same time controlling all of the world's money. And so that was his reason. That was his justification for one of his justifications for targeting Jewish community and for hunting down and burning and killing Freemasons and lodges all across the world at any country that they came across.
Right.
If they saw a Freemasonry symbol, then immediately it was Gestapo's came through, bust the door down, burn all of take what they could find useful and burn the rest.
Yeah.
Like it's all of that, to even Holocaust deniers, even just what I was talking about. There are deniers of that as per conspiracies, like it goes all the way to the code hoax and aliens. Nothing's new.
Yeah. And I mean, it's crazy because there's so many things. And then you have some people that have figured out ways of using that platform to get things, amplified. Like we have like the info wars. you
Fake
know
news.
yeah, and that's what his name is, Alex Jones, I believe. Infowars, I believe, is Alex Jones. I mean, that guy had a bunch of different theories, and he had a huge following of people that listened to him. It's just there's so many different things that happen.
QAnon.
To be careful. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that's why I don't take any real true to heart hard stances on things, on a lot of things, because I don't have a full grasp of it. Like, I'm not going to be the one that's like, there's a hard line. This is what it is. This is what I believe. This is how, because I'm like, I don't know. Because I feel like there's gray. There's shades of gray in everything. And I want to have a better idea of both sides to make my own sound judgment. And if I don't really understand it, then I'm just going to kind of back up off of it.
Absolutely.
I feel like when you have a very large following like that, it's much easier to push out conspiracies and negative energy, and the people that are following you are gonna, they have such a love and they have such an interest in everything that you do that they're gonna take that in and they're just gonna automatically believe you,
Oh,
which is,
absolutely.
in a sense, I want to make it seem like everyone's heard ignorance is bliss, but the way I mean that right now in this moment is like the people who are more popular and have more of a following, I feel like tend to lie more in the sense of like conspiracy theories and pushing that energy out. And then there's people who are truly intelligent that are at the bottom and don't really have like such a big following and know real things, but no one's going to listen to them because they don't have that status of being such a popular person, and
Right.
having that hierarchy just kind of like plays a huge role in conspiracy theories
Oh,
overall.
absolutely. It's funny because you kind of hit the nail on the head there when bringing it up, like the the base of what people want. Like
Mm.
I don't know if listeners you caught it by now listening to me enough, but like like the base of what people want is to be heard
Mm.
and to feel like they're supported in what they believe and think. Like a lot of is like you want to be heard and understood. And if you have somebody with enough influence hearing the way you think and actually saying it, and you hear that, then you can the group will gather. The people want to gather with like-minded individuals. They're going to create that what is that feedback loop, that sound vacuum of just all that same information being spewed out to each other. Yeah, I found this thing, I found that thing, but not once are we being like, I found this thing, but it got debunked because I did a little bit more research and it turned out not to be true. So it made me question a little bit more pieces. But this thing that I found, like, there's no hard hitting, hard cutting debate, around it. But like, so like you said, yeah, you have these people in these places of influence that are just trying to get further. I'm kind of curious. What do y'all think some of the dangers of conspiracy theories
Mm.
could be? Go ahead.
Well, the
I
confusion.
immediately thought of one. Um, growing growing up and becoming like adolescent, people my age, adolescents specifically, tend to believe the people that they've been around most of their lives, right? So when you have people who are their parents, such as mine, because I know specifically my mom specifically tends to pick and choose what she tells you about certain things. She likes to give you certain pieces of information and bend the truth and kind of lead you to believe certain things, and then keeps out the other side of it. So you have no knowledge of what that is at all. So when people are being fed that as they're growing older in that environment, then they're not being given any other side or any other way of looking at it at all. So it creates kind of like what I was saying earlier about conflict. It creates even more conflict amongst each other because you have people who are going through the same thing and going through the same part of their life where they're growing. We're all becoming older people, and
Right.
we're all in our formative years at this point. So the things that are being given to us and the things that we're taking in, we're going to carry for the rest of our lives. So when you have people that are feeding you negative energy and giving you incorrect information, when they're people that you look up to and you rely on for correct information, and they're not giving that to you, you're gonna end up making a mistake later on in the future because you were given the wrong information because that person had no idea what to do for you.
Right. Right. 100%. So actually, one of the things, again, part of the research I had done, Dr. Ellis Wong at Duke University, she was talking about how it also how conspiracy theories actually they lend themselves to racism. They lend themselves to extremism. So if we think about it, it gives way, like I said, it gives people a target, an agent to point their fingers and say that's the reason why this is this way. We talk about, COVID. People point their fingers at, Chinese people, Asian people, what have you, and say that was the reason why COVID happened, even though that's not the reason why they're not the reason why COVID happened. So it gives people that fuel or that validation in order to enact their racism, their racist ideals and agenda upon whatever demographic that they're targeting at that time. Also, kind of like talking about how it affects people dangerously, like even a conversation within families. If we can bring it towards like the conversation of culture a little bit. Like, I feel like conspiracy theories, they can drive action to a point of self-destruction, as well as be clearly damaging, and have damaging effects on the lives of other people. You know, like let's go a little bit more into. I know we went into a little bit of the extremism, but let's kind of lend way to um, why, like, the justified paranoia or cautiousness that people of color, Black people, BIPOC, why they feel hesitant for doing certain things because of certain conspiracy theories. Like, why are we as a culture, why are we in our different cultures so willing to subscribe to conspiracy theories? Because, I mean, if you think about it, based off of what we said so far in this episode, it's like, these are the kinds of groups of individuals that when we talk about having no sense of control over their lives, or a sense of no control over their lives, like, this is the epitome of that. Like, BIPOC have historically been in a situation where it is just constant feeling like you have no control over your life or what's happening in it. Not necessarily that you can't get out of it, it like actually get out of it, but the feeling like you can't get out of it, the feeling like there is nothing else you can do. So we will, lend our ways, or our hearts, to being more uh cautious about things. Like I was saying in a couple of our episodes, or even just a few people, I got the vaccine. I'm like, don't get me wrong, I'm a person of color. Like, I have a healthy level of paranoia when it comes to the government and administering anything that has to do with illnesses. But at the same time, I have a rational, scientific, analytical mind that I like to put to use, of like, if I'm going to feel this way, I'm not just going to rely completely on my emotional reaction, but I'm also going to see if I can back up the opposite with my scientific analytical thinking, my analytical response versus my reaction. Of like, I'm gonna do my research, I'm gonna find all the things I can, I'm gonna learn how, like, what puts this thing together. Because, like, if anything, that if I'm gonna do anything, I'm gonna learn how something works, how it ticks. And so that I have more, a new sense of control, which is being educated on the subject, because then it disillusions that desire for that unexplainable answer, or that wild and out there answer that explains something that is unexplainable. Going back to that, because, like, going back to, like, in our own cultures, I know I've come across a friend, or two, who has expressed certain beliefs in conspiracy theories. Now, like we all said in the beginning of this, each of us raised our hands and said we believe in at least one conspiracy theory.
Mhm.
Like me, yeah, I believe in aliens. I don't know that they go come visit us. I don't even know if they're here. But, like, I believe that they exist. We can't be the only, like, what
There's no way that we're the only type of being in the
in
entire universe.
all
In
galaxies.
the all galaxies. This is one, and we've barely even scratched the surface of this one.
So I have that level of belief, but then my friend, homie, brother, fellow POC, look, it went to a whole new level. We were sitting in a car just talking, chatting back and forth, and like spent all day with him having this, conversations and just diving into life and etc. And at some point he says to me with a straight face and all, man, people don't understand the hidden gem that is Trump. I said, come again? He goes, yeah. He's like, many people don't know, but at the beginning of his presidency, after he was sworn in, when he went back into his Oval Office, he actually flipped a switch which sent out a beam to unlock everybody's consciousness so that we can ascend to 5D consciousness. And when he did this too, it also sent a signal out to the aliens, and the aliens will be arriving within his term or his presidency. And Trump is basically going to lead us into this new world of like integrating humans and aliens, and it's going to be amazing. It's like, it's crazy. We missed, like, a lot of people miss out on a hidden gem.
That was the highest grade of weed smoke known to man.
I wish this brother was smoking weed.
Whoa,
That was a stone cold sober thought.
I tried to give him an excuse.
Nope. Don't blame weed for that. Don't put that stigma on weed. the fuck. I've had some high thoughts, but
Don't put that voodoo on me, Ricky Bobby.
he really went out and believed wholeheartedly. I looked this man in his eyes, and there was like, for a minute, I was like, are you Ashton Kutcher? I know you a brother, but like, are you Ashton Kutcher? Am I getting punked right now? That's a reference, by the way, for those youngins that don't know. Before, what is it? Pranked Encounters with homie from Stranger Things.
Yeah, we used to have the show called Punked with
Yeah.
Ashton Kutcher, and he would punk a lot of
I've seen
other
that.
celebrities.
Kelso from That 70s Show, for a reference if anybody needs one.
Yeah,
He ran a prank show where he would punk people.
Yeah, it was kind of funny at the time, and then you kind of seen some people like really become somebody else.
Oh yeah, you didn't want
It
to
was
see
kind
that
of
no more.
interesting.
But like, I literally staring this brother in his eyes, and I thought he was like about to crack a smile, like, you believe me? But like,
And he was being totally sincere, like
sincere,
sincere.
100%. Wild, right?
Damn.
Like,
So
you had me, I was okay with you saying, all right, Trump was a hidden gem. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll give you that, because there could be something that I missed that I don't know. I'll give you that. You lost me when you said this man went into his Oval Office and flipped the switch, and all of a sudden he unlocked I was like,
Oh,
give me your card, please. Just give me your card.
I feel
Give me
you
your card.
because I feel you because I've heard people try to tell me that too, and I'll just sit quietly and listen, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I mean, look at what this man did for the jobs and blah 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 and all this and that." I thought that's where you were going. I thought that's where he was going. I thought that. I didn't know that
The
he was
genuine concern in your face says it all. I thought that's where he was going.
I was hoping
sorry,
that's where
Google
you
Maps
were
said
going.
left.
That's where he was going.
He
So
went straight into the wall. I mean, I don't
so
know.
I can say something. But
Homie
no,
phased.
I am.
Don't put too much thought
I'm
into it.
speechless.
Yeah, don't break your brain on it, brother.
Don't hurt
Because
somebody's
yeah, I mean,
Oh.
it's insane. It's insane, the depths and things that people are willing to go to. So I kind of want to explore that for a
Exactly.
moment. Like, why outside of the traumatic experiences that we as different cultures have experienced, but like, why would we have such a propensity for believing and subscribing to conspiracy theories?
Yes, sir. Okay. I feel like there's a lot of people who don't really have anything to believe in. And this could just be me. But personally, I believe that there's a lot of people that just do not have anything to look forward to. They're in a position where they don't have much to believe in at all because they were never given that luxury. So when they look at something like this, they might think, oh, well, I might be able to get behind that. This seems like something I might be interested in. So when there's things like ghosts or like the dead walking among us or like different realms or like religions or like different cultures and everything, some people like I don't know it like when you don't have anything to believe in, you kind of just throw yourself in the deep end in a sense where you're just like, oh, well, I like that. It sounds cool. So let me see if I can get behind it and kind of like learn more about it. And then it kind of becomes something that's already in your mind. So at that point, you've already trained yourself to believe it, and to make others believe it, which creates an kind of a expansion.
Do you have many encounters of kids your age, I say kids, teenagers and whatnot, believing like wholeheartedly in in like dangerous conspiracy theories?
Dangerous in
I mean,
like
to a point where it becomes obsessive.
okay, I have I know for a fact that people are very, very, very scared about the vaccines.
Like
That's a very
kids,
big one amongst
teens?
people my age. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's terrified. No one my age wants to get a vaccine. They're probably forced by their parents. Nobody my age, from what I've seen around my school and the people I know that are in my classes and such, they have no interest in getting a vaccine because they think that they're going to end up being crazy and get thrown in an asylum or something. Uh, that's the biggest one.
Where do you find they're getting this information? Are they finding it from other students themselves? Are they finding it on your Facebook ad wall? I mean, are they finding is it coming from their parents? Like
I'd like to think that it's one of those things that started as a joke, just like something that was funny, right? And then some people started taking it seriously, and then that led to other people taking it seriously. Then after they took it seriously, you got the whole damn school thinking about it, like, oh shit, this might be real. Maybe this is something to worry about. Because at first it's like, oh, that's so funny.
you know what that reminds me of? I immediately, as you said it, I couldn't help but hear it in my head, which is the thing on TikTok, but of like, you know, I was like, feet as a joke. But bro, I don't think it's a joke anymore. Like that's the way that unfolded.
That's exactly how it is. I'm not even gonna hold you though, like because there will be things that people will think is so funny at first, and then once you really start thinking about
It
it,
just becomes
it
integrated
just
as
becomes
culture or
yeah,
fact.
it becomes a
Or
fact, and then you start thinking, oh well, maybe this can really affect you, maybe this is something to worry about. What if this does this, that, the third? Like
right,
there's so many things that there's at first it's just one simple thought, like, oh, this is funny,
right.
whoever did this is hilarious. And then you got a bunch of other people that start really letting it run wild in their brain, basically, and then it spreads.
Right. You got you got the finger of ponderance.
It's just crazy to me. It's just crazy. It's just crazy at how we grasp at things, and it's just crazy. I'm sorry. That's all I got.
Okay, well then I guess let me redirect the thought in the questions of our community, our cultures, like Black people. How like could you see any other reason why have we would want to grasp onto these so tightly? Like what in all the things we've
To
talked
stay safe.
to stay safe. Well,
Stay
okay,
safe.
then my question is, in all the things that we've talked about, being controlled, being manipulated as like a community, let's just talk about Black people for a moment. Like say like being manipulated, being controlled, being all these things like we saw in Judas and the Black Messiah. The FBI was putting together these fake flyers and documents to say that it was coming from the Black Panthers, when in actuality it wasn't, when it was coming from them. So we have not just that, but putting coke and all these stuff in ghettos, and Nixon and Reagan and all them doing the war on drugs and all that. Like, yes, we have those and those examples and those things, but with all of that, why wouldn't we think that being told that the vaccine is unsafe for us would be some. How come we wouldn't think that that is something that is just trying to control us with fear in order to keep us actually being unsafe? Like,
Too much information. You can't sift through what's right and what's wrong. So you go through what's safe in your mind, which is I'll just stay away from it. Let me hide behind something. When we try to believe in something, we always feel it always turns, well, not always, but a lot of times it turns up that we've been lied to, or we've been misled or led astray. So then it's like whenever we try to believe or try to follow the masses or do what we think is right, or what we're doing is told is right, and then something comes about it years later, then we're like, see, man, I got duped again. So it's just the track record of we just can't seem to get right. Or no, not no, let me rephrase that we are not being taken seriously, and we're not looked out. They don't look out for us. We're always going to be the guinea pig.
hmm, hmm. So then I guess this segues perfectly into the last little portion, which is like, and how do we stop the spread of that within our communities? How do we stop it? Because I mean, like the other dangerous part of a conspiracy theory is that, like, it negates the truth for the theory's own survival at the behest and self-destruction of the person who's believing in it. So if we're so stuck in this fear-based mentality, how do we help those that we love and we care about get out of that? How do we help those people that we don't want to see live in fear? We don't want to see harmed, just like they don't want to be harmed.
Lead by example and give them the proper information. And that's really what it is, right? But it's easier said than done, because who do you believe?
You
What is
got
the
it.
right example? What is, you know,
Receptibility of it.
yeah. So it's hard, but it's like it's a hard it's a tough circle that we're stuck in. It's almost like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But both in
Mm,
both instances, you're still what? You're damned.
damn, yeah. Like, I, like, I feel like if we could find some, like, like, if there was some way, like, how do we eradicate the causes or the underlying conditions that give rise to conspiracy theories? Like, how do we combat those things? Like, where one thing that actually, like, comes to mind is a quote by Ludwig Born, which is, getting rid of disillusion, or what is it, getting rid of delusion is wiser than getting a hold of the truth. Because if even in arguments with lawyers or things like that, the idea isn't like I'm right. The idea for the argument of one of the lawyers is they're wrong. Not I'm right, but they're wrong. So,
Right.
like, and if you can prove that, so kind of like getting rid of the delusion in that moment of, like, getting rid of whatever it is that is, like, at the core of it. I feel like would be great. I mean, because you even mentioned, like, be leading by example and giving information, and
Setting the standard.
setting the standard or setting the example. Like, it's
To have someone who's able to think critically for one.
oof, oof,
And
oof.
you need you need to have that person who is also able to have a stable open mind.
Well, because if you're trying to give somebody facts and information, like in that sense of like, if we're getting rid of the delusion, they're not going to be listening to the reason why this like you could try to break it down for them of like, okay, well, let me tell you all the reasons why that are wrong, or let me tell you the reason why this doctor actually was discredited. He actually released this after being discredited for all of this horrendous stuff that he did while he or she was on in this program or what have you. So all the things that they kind of had said loses merit, but like people are still so willing to believe it. They don't want to hear when something is being disproven. They want to hear something that supports them. But like you said it perfectly, like critical thinking, critical thinking, like whew, like if we I mean teaching and encouraging critical thinking young, like
But that
Which is
still
something that
doesn't
is
tell you
not
what's right
seen.
and what's wrong.
but that
You're
gives
just a
you
thought. You're just, well, I mean, but isn't that what we already have? If we say that, isn't that what we already have right now? I mean, we have
no,
critical thinkers. We have quite a few critical thinkers, but it's just who do you follow and who do you believe in?
but that's
Because you have like my son General, you have Dr. Umar Johnson, you have Jamel Hill, you have so many different people that we could choose to listen to as Black people, right? But we don't know who to listen to. We don't know who to follow. They have their pockets of people to follow that do follow them, but you don't know exactly where to go. And these are and I chose those three specifically because they are very outspoken individuals who have their own way of thinking, who are very critical thinkers, some more extreme than others, that people in our community look up to, listen to, both young and old. But who do we follow?
mm,
And I'm saying that because we can even go back to the 60s. Dr. King. You have Dr. King, then you have who?
Malcolm X.
Then you okay, both very critical thinkers, radical in their own ways. And people followed one or the other.
Hmm.
Right.
And then when they started to do this and merge in, what happened?
Dead.
They were taken away
They
from
were
us.
taken away.
So now we're at this again. We don't know where to go. So it's just like that's the thing. It's just we don't really know which way to follow because we have had critical thinkers. We I refuse to believe that there are no smart, educated Black people that are real critical thinkers. It is just the fact of we don't know who to follow. We're always looking for that one as opposed to the collective. Now there's been a lot of collective groups that have come by, but then they also say, well, that's a conspiracy theory because it is so far-fetched to their mind that they automatically push them to conspiracies. Like I don't 100% agree with or follow what Dr. Umar says, but he makes some very good points at some point and at some times, right? He makes some strong arguments. Um, Jamel Hill, strong arguments. My son General, strong argument. Okay, okay. Remember the post that I sent you? Because I
Mm,
sent it to you and I sent it to my cousin too. And both you guys were very vocal in the same respect about how you did not agree with it. But yet, what did I say? It was still what?
powerful.
It was a powerful message. Why? Because he knew how to say things in a way that got people's attention. And then I started looking through his comments and reading that, right? Oh, no, it wasn't my cousin. I'm sorry. It was another friend of mine. You know what I'm saying? So I pay attention to these powerful speakers because I'm like, I can now see why so many people follow you and listen to you
Right.
because they're grasping for that.
But the other thing though too, more I guess this is just geared towards the specificity of the person that you just had mentioned, but like they use people like that though. When you're trying to search for these critical thinkers, they use a subjective point of view, but they
Mhm.
also use, what is it, trigger words. and
Yeah.
and I say trigger words because they're the words that are key to get people into what they're saying and to have that impactful moment of being like, oof, that was powerful. They know those trigger words to get people there, not necessarily like have the full scope of critical thinking behind it, because if you did have critical thinking, you would essentially see the hypocrisy of words that particular person was saying, you know.
Yeah.
but
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 isn't that a speaker though? A person who knows how to publicly speak to get people on their side. They know how to use their words like that to
bruh,
do that. And
Hitler was the
that's
same way.
I,
Like,
and
Absolutely.
you're 100% right. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, like, that's just the thing. So when you have so many people that know how to speak in those ways, it's hard to know who to follow.
right, but then that
And
comes like with, that's where I go back to teaching critical thinking amongst each other and amongst the young ones, so that when you're presented with that, you can do the Bruce Lee quote, absorb everything, keep what is useful, discard what isn't,
yeah,
and make it uniquely your own. Like, understand that you don't have to just sit in one place. That's the other thing, is like, if you're
yeah,
just going to one, that
that's
is
the
a
problem.
problem. Yeah,
Right,
you
right, right,
should
right,
be
right.
going to all these different people and creating an informed decision. Informed, just what did consciously said, research over me search. Like,
Right, right,
your
right.
education is elevation. That informed information will give you the power to have control over your life and the things that feel out of control, that you feel the need to gravitate towards the conspiracy theories. So if you're taking that time to do all the research and put all the pieces together, you could look at that and be like, ooh, that person, often I know I do it, look at, ooh, that person's going way out into left field and diving into a conspiracy theory. Now I
Yeah,
can hear that this thing is a rabbit hole that's going to feed itself, because they're going to use something that I've already looked for myself and found the inconsistencies within it, found the things that weren't right about it. Like,
right.
if if you're making a decision about your life based off of a fear, rather than in being in making a
Informed.
decision off of being informed, yeah, then I feel like that's more dangerous and detrimental for one's life than just trying to do something that someone else is trying to get you to trust.
But that's the survival. That's where the survival part comes in. That's what we've been, I hate to use this term, but that's what we've been bred to do. We've been bred to do that just to survive. And we
Right.
should be past that by now. But now, because we
We
haven't
should
been
be.
we haven't been in quote unquote slavery for X amount of years, right? But it's still within our DNA. Why? Because it's been passed down from generation to generation to generation. Why are we afraid of the police now? Because our great great grandparents were afraid of the overseers of before.
I feel like what you're saying too is even like, in that sense of like, if we learn to disillusion ourselves from that as well, it's kind of giving way or finding ways to help people achieve that sense of control over their life.
Mhm.
I feel like in that sense, if we can go as like a community as a whole, not just Black people, but everybody from all walks of life, if we can start working towards doing the work that is necessary, like, we could essentially achieve that, of not coming from acting from a place of fear, but actually making conscious, mindful decisions about things based off of the education that we are doing for ourselves.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And again, for, just on my end, I'm not drawing a line in the sand. I'm not saying I believe this, that, or the other.
Right.
I'm just pointing out some things, to where why people would say these conspiracy theories or be able to believe one way or the other is because some people know how to speak so well. They know how to grasp your attention and pull at what you've been thinking deep down that you've never really spoken about and really bring that to the forefront and get you on their side. And that's the thing. And that's why we don't know what to believe. That's why again I say we don't know which way is up. Because everybody's got a microphone now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Gotta deplatform those influence, those leading influences
Influence.
or influencers. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
And that's crazy because that's just really what it is now, and I personally just don't know who to believe. Like, and that's why I take little bits from people here and there. That's why I take little bits from from everything and just try to form my own personal opinion about things.
Mhm.
And that's why I don't even know what's really a conspiracy theory anymore. Because some people are like, well, that's so far fetched. How could you believe that? I don't know. Let's boil it all the way down to its essence. What is it rooted in? What is it talking about? And that's where I'll go with things. Like they talk about those aliens, it's like,
Yeah.
like Will said, there's no way we're just this little minute thing in this galaxy. How can we be so selfish and self-centered to think that we are the only thing that lives, breathes, and is able to be smart and do these things?
Such a narcissistic ass
No.
like viewpoint as a species.
Yeah.
Let me ask another question that relates to us being such a selfish species. How can we say what's real and what's not when in reality we're not able to differentiate our own opinions and somebody else's? That's a big question that people aren't able to fathom because they don't want to even sit and begin to ponder it.
I think that's a great Discord question because I
Agree.
know I know for a fact that there are going to be some people who are listening to this that have some beautiful viewpoints that I would love to just like go in and just start talking about it. Like I would really love to hear your thoughts, read them, feel, some type of way about it, just because I would love to be educated in more viewpoints than just what we've come up with so far, because that was a great question.
I
I
like
know
it.
that I've noticed for people my age specifically, especially me, that it's hard with the influence of social media. We're not able to really, one, our attention spans are very different than your guys's. We're not able to pay attention to shit. Um, two, a lot of people will just see something on TikTok and go, all right, that's it. That's what I'm going to go with because that's what I saw first. If people are having a discussion about politics or anything like that, whatever, if you hear something from your best friend and they tell you, oh, well, this is what I think, what you want to do is you want to be with them. You want to automatically side with them and go, well, if they think that, I mean, I think that sounds pretty accurate. I mean, but you don't ever think about the other side. You don't ever go over to someone you don't know at all and start a conversation with them about it to see what they think. They're not, you're like, most of the time when you're my age too, you don't have that kind of communication with people. We're all awkward, and people, there's people on certain levels like that aren't as awkward, but being realistic, every teenager in the world is really awkward and anxious all the time and not able to communicate very well with each other at all.
That's fair.
And I've seen it firsthand. I don't care if you're like the most popular person in school, you suck at talking to people too. And you're not going to go over to someone else and be like, you're not going to walk over to some kid who's sitting there reading a book and be like, hey, what do you think about Donald Trump? You're going to go over to your friend and be like, yo, what do y'all think about Donald Trump, bro? Oh, word, me too.
Because yeah, you respect the opinions of your peers
Exactly.
more than you would a stranger on the street,
Exactly.
even if that stranger might have more knowledge than your peers. But yeah.
Thank you to all of our people in the Patreon for all of your patronage and your help and your inspiration and your support of the podcast. We truly appreciate that. Thank you to all of our loyal listeners and our new listeners. Welcome to the party. Hopefully you've been able to enjoy yourself in this great conversation. Yeah, man, it's kind of crazy talking about conspiracy theories, but you've had your own thoughts about those. We've all had our own thoughts about those. So just kind of join us. Let's create a healthy dialogue and let's talk about it. Okay, we're open, as you could tell, because we're running a podcast and we like new information. How can you tell? Because we're always looking up stuff, and we love to talk to you. How did you know? Well, you did. If you didn't, you do now because we're telling you. So please holla at us. Let us know what your thoughts, what your feelings, if you believe in conspiracy theories, if you don't, and what are some of the crazy conspiracies that you have heard, and what are some that you feel are so crazy that they can't be true? Holla at us and let us know. All right.
Absolutely. And if you want to continue in this conversation outside of here, feel free to hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at Have a Drink Cast, and make sure you use the hashtag HADcast. That way we can see whatever it is you post, any of the conspiracy theories that y'all fall into that you're just like, okay, but how can you not believe this one? Like, I would love to see and hear, or, go down a rabbit hole just to kind of understand, what people might be thinking out there in the world. I always love new information, as O said. Um, it's about that time. Raise your glasses, raise your glasses. All right, kings, queens, and royals in between. We want to thank y'all for joining us again on another successful episode of the Have a Drink podcast, where we invite y'all back to sit, think, and have a drink. That's been us. Peace.
Peace.